Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad, your favorite podcast for learning how to balance between being a functional adult and a raging dumpster fire. And let's be honest, we've all been a bit of a dumpster fire. Have you ever caught yourself just defending a walking red flag? Because I have. And today, our guest, Kate Mageau, is going to help us to see love for what it really is instead of what we think it should be. Kate, thank you so much for making time for us today. Welcome to the Bachelor Pad. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I'm good. How are you?
You know what? The day is done. The drink is in hand. We're doing swell. Obviously, you are an author, you are a therapist by day. We talked about that. What really is your origin story? What is the lore of Kate? I feel like that's a great
Well,
way to kind of open things
yeah,
up.
yeah, absolutely. So I was in a toxic relationship in an abusive marriage, and I was with a person for 5 years. And when I got out of it, I went to therapy. I went to a support group at a domestic violence advocacy agency, and I learned that this happens to one in three people. 1 in 3 people will experience a toxic relationship. 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence. 1 in 9 men experience domestic violence. And I was outraged. And so I went to therapy and I did my whole healing process and I started writing about it. I was like, I want to tell my story to people so that they can learn from it so they don't have to go through what I went through. And so there was like an 8-year process of healing and writing. And then I became a therapist and I was like, okay, how else can I help people? And then after I did once becoming a therapist, I went back to my book. I had written the whole story out and then I went and explained what psychologically was actually happening. And then as a therapist, I've been helping people with healing from toxic relationships. And now I work with a lot of ADHD and autistic people and starting to see more OCD coming through with ADHD and autism as well. Yeah, I guess that's my lore is I went through it and I wanted to help other people not go through it or heal from it and break that cycle.
That is really important work. And we hate that we love it because we hate that you had to go through it, but we love that you did and you were able to find the motivation, the fire to turn life around for you and start to help others, which is, I feel like what we're put on this planet to do is help our fellow person.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's really that finding your why and finding your purpose. And people are like, wait, you're ADHD and you're like, can focus to do all these things. But yes, because if you can find your motivation, like you'll get all the dopamine you need to do all the things that are important to you.
Now, you would think that after seeing the worst of love, that some people might give up, but I don't think you necessarily have given up on love. Would you say that you still believe in love even after love?
Yeah, yes. So I am currently in a very healthy relationship of 5 years. And right after being coming out of my relationship was my dumpster fire era. Yes.
I mean, we all have one or two, you know.
Or yeah, but yeah, I went straight into dating right after. What happens when you get out of an abusive relationship or out of a toxic relationship is you lose a lot of self-esteem. And so I went to find that through dating. And the other part that happens is that even though you're in a relationship, you are not really having true emotional intimacy in that kind of relationship. And so I was really, really craving that. And so I just dated and drank a lot.
I wish I could say that I can't relate, but I think I think I can. Breakups are a wild beast. They take so much out of you, they teach you so much, and they change you. I really feel like we have this arc, or at least I have an arc. I'm not gonna project that to everybody else and make it a generic. But after a breakup, I'm sad for a while. And then I was like, you know what? No, I need to start living again. I need to get myself back to like who I am. I need to redefine Josh. And so then I have a workout era where I'm just revenge body, just at the gym like every other day. Not I can't do the podcast. I have to listen to like my breakup playlist so I remember why I'm working out. And then after that comes the dumpster fire era of okay, we we're looking a little good. We're healthy and hydrated. Let's try to meet some people. And I was like, oh God, I hate dating again. It's such a nightmare. let's just find somebody and the cycle might continue.
Yeah, yeah. So the healing does need to happen to break the cycle, right? To like learn about really what happened in that relationship and what are the signs to look out for. Because the gym bod is great and that is part of being healthy, but emotionally healthy, there's a lot of work that has to be done to be safe.
True. Alignment only happens when all the parts are together, mind, body, and heart. So finding the root cause and actually working on yourself is one of the biggest things that I encourage people to do who may be going through a breakup or in a situation that they don't love because they don't think is the healthiest, is to maybe start thinking about, is this the right place for me? Is this my forever home, so to speak?
Yeah.
Now, we used to get a lot of our ideas or advice on dating, so to speak, from rom coms or TV shows.
Mm,
Now it's a bit of reality television.
mhm.
You have your Love is Blind, your Love Island, The Bachelor, that whole franchise. It's a universe now. I think it has more spin-offs than Marvel movies almost, but if you had to relate the current state of dating to some reality show, what would you compare it to?
I mean, it's hard to like generally put that out there, like everybody is in this, but like I guess I would say Love Island because it's a dumpster fire. Because there's this like, I'm going to be with someone for just a little bit and I'm going to share a bed with them and then I'm not. And then what about this other person? And now someone else comes into the mix. Like, I think that show, as chaotic as it is, does more closely match than like the confines of the pods or the like one person to 22 suitors of The Bachelor.
No, I couldn't agree with you more because very rarely, okay, except for what maybe when we were like in high school, I don't think I've ever seen a group of women compete for the same guy to that or now, as far as the opposite, I might have seen that many guys compete for one woman, just walk into any bar or nightclub, and I feel like that's what happens for the night. But as a whole, generically speaking, I was like, yeah, the Bachelor model just isn't real life. Love Island, though, you're right. There's like people are always swapping couple. There's always maybe something going in the background, and then there are real life bombshells, and so I do think that is a great kind of parallel to the modern dating scape that we're in. Going off of that, Love Island taught me two things. A, you can develop an ick for somebody who you think that you'll never get tired of. B, we all might have a red flag that we're kind of into because a lot of them kind of have a type and it's usually not healthy for them.
Mhm.
Now, what do you think is the sneakiest red flag that people kind of confuse as chemistry?
Mm. I would definitely say love bombing. And I'm going to say, like, hear me out on this because people think they know what it is, and they probably do, but there's like a lot more nuance to it. So, love bombing can look like the lavish gifts and attention, right? That's the way that it's kind of framed to us. But it can also be spending so much time together. And it can be those like constant texts and, oh, I want to see you again day after day, or those like dates that last a couple days. It can look like having all of that emotional energy together. And what happens in that is you're getting oxytocin, which is the love hormone. It's the same hormone that people have in like a less romantic way, and like even a hug, you can get some oxytocin feel good hormone, but you get so much of it when you're dating and that new relationship energy. That's oxytocin. Oxytocin blinds us, literally blinds people. So when you have that, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I want to be with the person all the time, you're being blinded by oxytocin, which also has a dopamine receptor. And so then, especially neurodivergent people who don't have as much dopamine, but anybody loves dopamine. It's the feeling of joy. That's the reward chemical that we get. And so when you're getting flooded with love and reward, you're like, great, let me stay in here. However, then you don't have time and space to really evaluate what's happening. So I like to share with people around this is to take some time to have space between the texts, between the phone calls, between the visits. I had this friend who she has a couple cats and she would like date someone new and then not go home to see her cats for 2 days. And so I'm always like, how's your cats? How's your cats? Like, have you checked on your cats? Give your space the time to do the things that you need to do. Keep doing your regular routine. Don't drop it and change it. So you can have some actual perspective and space to breathe without the huge flood of oxytocin.
That is almost the perfect segue into my next question of we were talking about Love Island and all these other dating kind of reality love shows. And then this situation with your friend, it's not till we sometimes step out of ourselves or a situation ends that we realize that we weren't necessarily in an unhealthy, we weren't necessarily in a healthy love situation. The type of love we were giving or receiving was unhealthy. And I think this shows, and like you were saying, I call it literally the love island because when people get into a relationship, sometimes they become an island. Like they forget about the rest of the world and only those two kind of matter.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't see how codependency and isolation are really healthy, but let me get an expert opinion.
Yeah, codependency is not healthy, but it's what happens at the beginning of when you have that new relationship energy and you don't have the time to separate. So if you still do your regular day-to-day things, like this is what I do after work, this is what I want to do on the weekends, you're still doing the things that matter to you, then you naturally will create that separation to where it's not codependent because the complement to it is leading an independent, healthy shared life where you can do some things together. Just yesterday, in my partner's friend group, we are all going to go out. And I was like, I'm so tired, guys. I'm out. And my partner's like, do you mind if I go? And I was like, no, please go. Have fun. Like, tell them all I say hi. Great. That is an independent shared life.
I love that for the fact that I do tell people this. Don't introduce me to your friends if you don't want them to become our friends, because for that very reason, when you invest in your partners or your friend, or vice versa, when your friends invest into your partner as well, it kind of gets you off that love island that I was speaking of. And it introduces you into community. And when you have that community and you can have a routine kind of everyday life where the only interaction you have is either work or your partner is broken up, I love how healthy that is, and I think it's just good for the relationship in the long haul because I could be the best person ever, but you're gonna need a break from me. Hell, I need a break from myself sometimes, and we know how much Josh loves Josh. So, well, when you have a friend group that you can still go out and be like, "Hey, babe, do you wanna come?" "No." "Yeah, go have fun still," and to let them know I said hi. That is just really amazing. I hope more people learn to adopt that perspective as well.
Yeah. And you want to have things to talk about with your partner, right? Like if you're doing all the things together, you're talking about the thing you're doing, like you will get bored. Like, let's share the experiences of the day and like enrich each other's lives with our own experiences.
It's literally the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. If we are talking 24/7, if we're underneath each other 24/7, if we have all of the same friends and sometimes we might work together as well.
Mm.
Exactly. That's literally reading the last chapter of a book to figure out who done it and then be like, well, the book's boring now. I was like, yeah, because you know how it ends. I was like, you know, all the characters, all of their thoughts, all the situations. No, let's not read the last chapter. Let's enjoy the kind of ride, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only is it like helpful and healthy to be have independent shared lives, but codependency can be really dangerous. It's a really first breeding ground for an abusive or toxic relationship because that's creating isolation. Even if you're still like in the same like city as everybody, you can still be emotionally isolated into that bubble. And so if no one else is getting any other perspective of what's really happening in your relationship, and you're not seeing other perspectives, then it's really easy to excuse the bad behavior and then for that bad behavior to continue and worsen.
Which is something we absolutely don't want. That's one of the biggest travesties to me is when my friends do enter these types of relationships because no matter how many times somebody tells us that this isn't healthy or this may not be the right fit, it's not until you actively decide that this is not what I want, or unfortunately, you're in a place where you're like, I have to leave or I might not ever leave again. Sometimes those are just lessons we have to learn, but that's why we have shows like this. That's why you have your books that you have written. That's why people have support groups, is so that hopefully by sharing our stories, by gaining more perspective, we don't repeat these cycles.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sharing, healing, learning. So much of the healing is learning. When you can learn about what happened, then you can actually be empowered to make decisions for yourself about whether or not you want to stay in the relationship, and you can reduce the shame you have for staying in the relationship. And all of that happens in community.
No, 100%. Now, I kind of want to shift a little bit. I mentioned it a little while ago, but you are an author. You
Yes.
have written a book or two.
Book in a workbook.
It's like a bug. Once you do one, you probably have a couple more ideas in this works that might happen at some point. But let's not
Mhm.
put the cart before the horse. Tell us a little bit about one of the favorite one. Okay, one of my favorite things I love about having authors on is your book becomes your baby, and nobody knows your baby better than you. So, do you have a favorite moment from your book or a chapter that you think really would resonate with people or just meant a lot to you?
Um, well, it's hard to choose one, but I listened to your bonus episode before we met today, and
The last one?
the yes, the last one that you uploaded. So I feel like I have one that like blends episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I read you a chapter or not a chapter? Sorry, a paragraph.
I was like, a whole chapter. I was like, I don't have Amazon Kindle. I don't want to, I can't afford the full. No, I'm joking. Yeah. No,
Let
yeah.
me read one paragraph.
Yeah. We would love to hear it.
Okay, this is from chapter 13, cooking. We received a multitude of wedding presents, and a majority were cooking tools from a registry. I hadn't cooked too much before, and Jason didn't cook at all, but I was excited that these gifts could help turn me into my severely misconstrued idea of the 1950s housewife with that perfect cooking skills meets Betty Page, Suicide Girls, that one porn star you really want to meet. I was determined to have it all, plus excel at my job and get promoted. And while we're at it, buy a house and have kids. I told myself I could totally live the American dream.
I love it. Well, I mean, obviously, guys, if you haven't watched the last bonus episode with Liv, go check that out after you finish this for the context. But no, I think that kind of does really tie in well to a couple of those little scenarios that she was talking about. It's actually crazy. You would think running a dating show that I would clock more problematic or like toxic situations, but I don't. It's so rare for me to actually go back and review the relationships I've been in or like other people have been in. I think we've started focusing so much on just ourselves and being better people and learning so many different things that sometimes I do forget that relationships only happen when you have people inside of them. I mean, sure, you have your relationship with yourself, but I was like couples. And so hearing that actually just made me think that maybe I need to start being more cognizant of how I partner with people. Because sometimes I do think I could have my cake and eat it too. I was like, things are going great. We're on top of the world. I'm going to do all these things. But the key word there was I'm, not we. Like, we or we're building, we're going to do these things. And I think that sometimes we get so self absorbed or we try to hold on to the things that make us feel good that we miss the other half of our relationship, our partner.
Yeah, okay. So, in the perspective of my book is actually reversed from that. It was more about meeting the expectations that my partner had for me. But I think both are really, really important to look at because both are looking at things in silos and not in shared decisions. What do we want to make together? What do we want to do together? How do we want to live our lives? And having your own separate independent lives and making decisions together. Yeah.
Building off of that is we set these expectations, but we don't always think about our partner or like who has to meet them.
Hmm.
So I was like, I think that's something that we should start doing because if my partner had the same expectations for me as I had for them, could I live up to them?
Mm.
That's a great question that from that chapter, that paragraph that I think I need to start asking myself periodically because Everybody here in a not so bad fam, we love the periodic check in with ourselves. And that's just setting realistic standards. You know, we know that our partner is not going to check every box because we don't check every box. I think it's good for us to be like, hey, are the expectations I set for my partner manageable, sustainable, and fair to them?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, something I say to my partner and to my therapy clients is I don't care what you do. I care how you feel.
No, I can respect that. And I kind of feel the same way. I tell people, I was like, it is your life. I want you to be happy and to live it. But the keyword in my most important part, I want you to be happy. If you are living your life recklessly and being the glorious dumpster fire that some of us are here in the Bachelor pad, more power to you. However, if you are a dumpster fire and you're not happy and you're not trying to put that fire out, then I now have concern.
Yeah. I think you can base so much around like are people happy? How do people feel? And the decisions that come from it, right? Because I think the decisions that come from it are going to be beneficial to both the individual and to the partner. Like if you're feeling good and you love your partner and you're not an abusive person, like you're gonna do your share of the housework. You're gonna make decisions together. You're going to do thoughtful things for each other. That will come from the love and from the happiness if that's there. I try and not have expectations for my partner. I try and just check in with how he's doing.
That's what a good partner should do. I love and embrace you. And if I can help in any way, then I will. But I was like, if you're happy and you're doing your own thing, you're in your bag, as they say, then just keep trucking on, just give me a wave. But that's that healthy balance we've been talking about, is you don't have to control your partner's life and you're not responsible for their happiness. Like if you try to take on that responsibility, you'll eat yourself up because you will never meet that expectation. Or if you do, I'm scared for you and them because if something ever happens to you, does that mean they won't be happy? Like, because that sounds like that's the start of a chronic spiral.
Yeah. Yeah. And if your lives are all intertwined in a codependent way with having a same friend group and that's your only friend group or working together or not spending extra time outside of those things. And once that partnership ends, like the whole world comes down. That's not good for anyone's health.
No, and hopefully you guys listening or watching never get to see that or do, but I have witnessed that a few times and it's the worst because losing yourself is one of the scariest things. Who's supposed to know you better than you? So if you lose that insight to who you're supposed to be and you start letting other people tell you who you're supposed to be, you'll wind up in some pretty scary places, emotionally and physically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very scary and it really does all start with a codependency and love bombing. So if you keep a hold of who you are, you're going to make good decisions for the relationship that you want to be in. You're going to be in a healthy relationship if you're making decisions that are true to you. But I also want to like caveat that because anyone can get into a toxic relationship really not hard for a person to like find ways to manipulate another person. But if you keep checking in with who you are and checking in with other family and friends about how things are going and being honest about the situation, then that'll help you a long way.
Checking in with yourself is important, but checking in with them is equally as important. Balance. I don't know if this is subtly the theme of the second half of the season, but balance is the key to everything, guys. With yourself, with your partner, with your job, with your life, with ice cream. Because sometimes I don't have balance with ice cream. I eat a little bit too much and I regret it. So, balance.
Yeah, I struggle with the Cheetos. I will eat them all.
I mean, things just shouldn't be delicious, okay? Because delicious means dangerous because I don't know if I can stop.
Right, right.
Okay, so this is a fun question. You're a therapist. We talk about this. I mean, to an extent, we can't control who our clients are, but if you could choose a couple that is pretty known in the limelight, figure out how those gears are turning. Do you have a couple you think would just like, oh, you would love to work with or just would like make your career that much more amazing?
It's a great question, but I don't do couples therapy, so none, because I think that'd be so hard to do couples therapy. But like an individual person, I I would love to be Huda's therapist from Love Island.
She's having a
She
moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeremiah love bombed her. She reacted. America reacted. Then she had some problematic stuff on the afterwards. She just needs some help and some love, and I would like to get inside her head and help her. Yeah.
I think it's also so hard because, especially with Love Island and shows like that, they get a lot of young people. And I
Yeah.
guess if you're Love Island age, you're not young, but we talked about this earlier. They don't do much for like once you turn to your late 20s into your early 40s, there's like 20 years where there's just nothing for you. The people in The Bachelor are also like around 30, or, and then you have like the Golden Bachelor, which doesn't pick up until you're like in your like, I guess, 50s or 60s. So I was like, what about the middle, the majority of the people who fall in the middle of that? Because there are a lot of single people in that age range who don't date like they do in their 20s. Because let's be honest, we all made some questionable decisions in your 20s. Like, if you're watching this right now, leave a comment if you've made a questionable decision in your 20s in your love life and you're just like, ugh, that was tough. Because I know I can't be the only one. Or 30s, because I'm trying to be better in my 30s because we're healing. However, I feel like the dumpster fire might break out every once in a while. But we're still early in it, so we don't want to jinx it. We don't want to jinx it. No, but yeah, Huda. I mean, I think that would be a great person to work with. Honestly, I think I would have to be like Nick if I'm staying with you in this current season of Love Island because he had a pretty interesting journey too, and I want to know when did it happen because I was like,
The switch over to Alandria?
mm-hmm.
Yes.
If you were being a guy's guy, you were being a bro, and you were being honest with yourself, I didn't really see that coming. And I don't know if my bro was that invested into a person, if I could not snake it, but low key snake it in a sense, or at least not without
Yeah.
a couple few like solid conversations.
Yeah. I think that is a really good point. I was really surprised when that all happened too. But what I wonder, as you mentioned, like, be a bro, like, was Taylor that into Alandria? Like, I don't see why not, or how anyone literally could not be into her. She's amazing. But like, maybe he wasn't. And maybe that's where Nick had, like, the emotional leeway and space for that.
Time is a big thing, and especially living and bonding with people as closely as they did. Even if you weren't like that into her, how long were they together? Like a fair amount of time. So it was like, and there wasn't like a you didn't wait a long time. So it's not like we were together for like an hour or a day or two, and then this happened. I was like, no, we rode this out for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah. And even though it's maybe what, like 3 weeks, but in the Love Island place, that has got to feel like
That's a
3 months,
six
like
month
minimum.
relationship.
Yes. I don't know. I don't follow like every Love Island person or like a bunch of reality stars after I watch the show. I basically watch the show and I have moved on to other things. But I don't know. Are they still together? Like, is it real?
Okay, well, now that's the question we always ask. You know, is it for the check or the check after the check? I don't know. I mean, as much as I love T Swift, I still don't know if that's real. Okay, Swifties, please, please, I'm one of you. Do not shoot me. Do not come for me. I just don't know if I've seen Goo Goo Eyes. Hmm. I've seen Goofy Eyes, but I don't know if I've seen Goo Goo Eyes. That's all I'm saying.
Hmm.
That's all I'm
Hmm.
saying. And that last album, did it sound like I'm in Merv? I don't know. That's for y'all to decide. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And that has its own lore that I've been reading about online. I haven't listened to the album, I don't care to, but there's a lot of messaging in there that may or may not be influenced by the person she's with.
That's like I said, I'm just being objective here. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. How do you actually spot safe love? Because I feel like
So,
go ahead.
okay. So here's the thing. It is an internal process. It is, how do you feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel free? Do you feel safe and free? That's your good indication. The external part of it is if there is something and you bring it up to your partner, how do they respond as far as wanting to change? Are they open to hearing you? Are they open to working on the thing that you brought up to them? That's how you know it's safe. If they are not trying to actually change something that needs to be changed, then I guess, okay, there's a caveat on that. There's a caveat on everything.
And everything. Everything really black and white, let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So if there's something that is like you bring up to your partner that they are hurting you in some way and they want to change, then you know it's safe. If they don't want to change, they don't show any behavior change that is affecting you and literally hurting you, then that's not safe. If they are asking, if someone is asking for changes that are maybe more superficial, then maybe that's not safe. But overall, the question to ask yourself is, do I feel safe? Do I feel free? And do I trust that this person has my best interest to actually listen if something's being brought up? And then one other important aspect is it's all about the power dynamic. Is there an equal shared power? That's your key. Not every little thing is going to be equal. Like I don't do the dishes the same amount as my partner does the dishes, and I do the laundry more, and she does cooking more, or whatever, right? But like it somehow balances itself out.
Relationships aren't supposed to be one to one, tit for tat. That's not what at least that's not what I think love is. It's just about filling the gaps. If anybody's ever worked in a kitchen or played a sport, you know, being part of a team where there's a need for you, that's where you go. You don't do your job and just stand there. You're like, okay, I've done my assignment. Where can I help out? How can I make a play? And I think a lot of relationships in this current era tend to not know that because they do feel transactional or tit for tat. I have a friend, God bless her, and I love her to bits. But one of the most triggering things that she says for me is, I don't want to do it, but he did it. So I have to get even or I have to do it too. That's exactly the face I make. That's exactly the face I make. And I'm like, baby girl, no, that's not how this works. If you see somebody jump off a bridge, do you also jump off the bridge? If you see them burn their hand, are we also touching the stove? No, we're supposed to be healing. So let's make smarter decisions.
Yeah, yeah. If I was her therapist, I would ask her about where she thinks that concept came from. If there's something in her past that has felt unfair to her, and where is she wanting to see justice served? Maybe it's not there. Maybe it's in some other place. There's a lot of places to look in America.
Maybe I'll have to give her your number because heaven knows that I have tried. Or, you know, maybe she's just working on a really good memoir that I don't know about and she has to keep it interesting. I don't one or the other. It's something.
I mean, that'd be a good book. I'd read it.
Right. You know what? That's a fair question. I'm gonna start asking people next time I like think they make questionable decisions. I was like, are you working on a memoir I don't know about or something? Because what's going on here? What's going on?
Do you have another side podcast, a blog? Like, where are you putting your story?
Or like I was like, where are the hidden cameras? Like I must be getting punked. Like they have to be around here. Ashton, Jamie Kennedy, it's where you know, somebody's watching. Somebody's watching. I think I dated myself a little bit there.
Yep, yep, yep. I followed with you.
That's all that matters. It's me and you. It's me and you. Okay, name of the show is the Not So Bad Bachelor Pat. You were telling me that you've hung up your bachelorette jersey and that you have found a happy and loving relationship. But was there ever a time where you thought, you know what? Maybe I don't need love right now. Maybe my love is the only love I need.
No.
That's impressive. I'm always impressed when people don't have to think. They just right away know. Because there are sometimes I was like, you know what? I think I might be okay by myself. And then I wake up from my nap and I was like, no, no, I won't be. That side of the bed was too cold. My back was not scratched. Acceptable.
Okay, no, this is supposed to be a quick part, but just real briefly. No, because I always felt like I needed that feeling of hope. And to respond to you as um you feel good by yourself, great. You're the perfect spot to find love.
I mean, it's about space sometimes because when I feel like when maybe this is the commitment phobia a little bit, but sometimes when you feel too smothered by something, you're like, I just don't want it. Like if you have a dog or a cat and they're just like always sitting on your face and you're like, love you, but just like, I need some space. Or you always have that friend that just like is always there and always asking questions. And I was like, just 1 second. I need to be able to hear just life without you in my ear. I think I have those moments with love sometimes, maybe because I surround myself with love and sex, smut, all the things we do here in the Bachelor pad all the time that I'm just like, I might just be content because I get so fulfilled from this that what else, what would a relationship bring? And then I hit stop on the record button and then I go outside and I was like, no, I might have just been riding the high. I was riding a high. Does that feel good? The chemicals were chemicaling in my head, and I think that's what was happening.
You're getting all the oxytocin and dopamine from all the things you're doing. You're like, great, I feel good, but you
Yeah.
still want connection.
Yeah. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with being a little delulu. Just a little, not too delulu, because that'll get you in trouble as well. Okay. What is God, we talk about it, and I need to find a new word because I was using it before it was famous, but what is the biggest ick that you see some of we don't I don't want to we don't judge our clients, but sometimes they do things and you're just like, no. Right. So what's a big just no moment you have when you hear these stories?
Anything that starts with I should,
Okay. I really want to ask a follow-up question. Why?
because if we take a second to go, who says should? Where does the should come from?
Hmm.
Right? Like, is it a decision you made for yourself? Okay, it's fine. Right. But a lot of times it's not. I should do XYZ. I should do that. But like, who says should? Whose story are you following? What path are you going down? Like, no, I need to eat dinner or whatever, right? But even like I should eat dinner, it's like, does that mean you're like not hungry, but you should because it's dinner time? Like, what do you need? What do you want?
Okay. At first I was like, I don't know, but I'm actually on board. Like, where's the wagon? Here's my admission ticket? No, I agree because that kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier of the expectations of your partner. Because
Mm,
when I'm hearing it, when you hear the I should, it's whose expectations are you trying to live up to?
right.
If not, if they are yours, then fine. You're right. Do whatever makes you happy. I'm okay with that. If they are society's, your partners, your parents, anybody else's, then I could be like, you know what? Let's not. So I kind of see that now. I see that. What is a red flag that you think that you had that might have made somebody think that you weren't always the best partner?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is when I was dating after my relationship and not healed yet, I was just drinking a lot. So that was definitely a red flag and craving that intimacy. So I was like creating more codependency patterns.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So codependency patterns, drinking too much. Yeah.
Yeah. If people didn't know that tequila was my girlfriend already, they would think I had a problem. But we have a very healthy and social relationship, so I think it's fine. No,
Yeah. Wherever your level of comfort is, right? I'm just looking back to where I was in that.
no, 100%. I do. I mean, and like I said, the 20s. I think 24 is actually a really scary age. Sorry, tangent, guys. I'm good for at least one an episode. 24 is a scary age to me because you've settled after 21. Because like 21, 22, you're just like, you may not be drinking that much. Like you're going out, you're like experiencing that maybe that party stage and it's kind of fun. But 24, you're like, ooh, I'm halfway through my 20s just about. Then you start to have a little bit of identity crisis on top of maybe partying like a 21-year-old still or 22, 23-year-old. So then that's when I noticed there was a point where my drinking became unhealthy because it wasn't social, it wasn't fun, it was codependent.
Mm,
And it lasted for a little spell. But then you're like, you know what? Once again, it's that should. I was like, who says I should be doing X, Y, and Z right now? I'm 24. I'm living my life. I'm doing what I want. It makes me happy. I'm where I need to be. So I guess that goes back to that. I stopped subscribing to the I shoulds.
I love it. And just to add, at 25 is when the prefrontal cortex is developed. So at 24, your neurons are like ready to like get down to business and be serious. You can feel it. And it's like, oh, am I about to like make a decision soon? Should I not yet? Okay.
Chemicals are always chemicaling. That's going to be my
Yes.
new friend. Okay. So anybody who's been a fan of the show or who knows me in real life knows that I think that we shouldn't pick our partners. I think that we all should have a counsel to help us decide that because sometimes we just make really bad decisions. And context for you, Kate, I am the youngest of four. So I have three other brothers. And we all kind of have decided that we've all made some questionable dating decisions. I think we all need to like have a vote. Like, do we think this is a good person for me? Because I know they have my best interest in heart. I know they know me. I also know that they'll know if they'll get along with him at the holidays. I call that the council. Anytime we need to make a decision, you need at least a two-thirds vote in order to do anything. We'll never have like a tiebreaker. It'll never be a tie. So I was like, maybe I'm onto something here. So some of my girlfriends and guy friends, I was like, why are we dating these people? I just don't know. So I was like, "Mm-mm, you need a two-thirds vote from us before you make this official because this one isn't it."
I mean, I think that's very helpful to have another perspective. And going back to removing isolation, right? If you have another perspective, you have a chance of being in a healthier, safer relationship. Yes, see what your friends and family think about people. Absolutely. Love that.
Now, out of your friend group, are you the friend or is it somebody else who would normally clock when things are like, I don't know if this is a good idea?
Well, being a survivor, a therapist, and an author who spent 10 years writing the book on it, and a workbook, also a workbook for whatever perspective you want to learn from, I'm the friend.
No, it's me. I'm clocking it. No, that's what I thought, but you never know. They always say what every therapist has a therapist, so who knows?
Oh, no, we do have our own
You,
therapist. We should. Yes. Yeah.
when you go back and you look at your own journey through past relationships, not even necessarily the one you wrote about, but even before that, and just healing, there's something that you used to believe that was true about love that you don't subscribe to anymore?
When I was younger, I would make lists of what I wanted. And it was like, this person has a college degree, this person has a car, this person has like a good paying job. And I don't care about any of that anymore. And I don't think that it needs to be a thing. I think that to have a person who is safe and healthy and happy and you two enjoy each other's company and you trust each other, that's all that matters.
I love that. And I kind of do the same thing. People always ask me what's my type, but then when I describe it, they're like, no, like, what's your type? And I try to stay away from types being more about physical qualities and characteristics. I really like my type to be about how they make me feel because I think that's the biggest key to longevity in any relationship, whether it's platonic, romantic, or familial. Like you
Yeah,
said, one of my
that's what
favorite
matters.
compliments is when my partner tells me, you make me feel safe or I feel safe around you. And I was like, good. I mean, like that just warms my heart. And I like the same thing. I want to be able to feel vulnerable around you. And that's a really big compliment that I give to people is because when I feel like I don't necessarily have to have my walls up or have to be at DEF CON, like 151. I forget how that system goes. Whatever the most dangerous one is. That's a good sign that maybe we are meant to be in this relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really all about how you feel. You feel safe and happy and healthy.
Okay, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I feel like we learned a lot, at least I learned a lot about perspective and about what it means to be a safe partner, how to create an environment and a life that not only can I love, but I can create with somebody. So thank you for that.
Of course, I'm happy to share and talk about this. This was really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Now, before we go, everybody, I know you didn't leave. I need you to scroll, click off this tab, and go follow Kate. I need you to go head over to Amazon or maybe your local bookstore and pick up a copy of her book. Hold that up for us one more time so everybody can see it.
Yes.
interwebs,
rose-colored glasses.
right,
You
rose
can
color.
ask your bookstore to order it. That's
Mhm.
how you get it at your local bookstore, and it's on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. I also have the Healing from Toxic Relationships workbook. I also have a video course where I go through this workbook and all the concepts on my website. So, whatever your learning style is, I got you. You have a resource. Side thing, I also do ADHD and autism assessments for people in Washington and Florida. And I do ADHD coaching and coaching to write a memoir for anybody.
Those are, like, 2 really far locations. I was like, "How did that happen?" That's a story for a different time. Guys, just DM her and ask her because I wanna know, so come back and tell me, down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, for making it through another episode of the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad, your favorite podcast and mine, and I will see all you amazing bachelors, bachelorettes, and partner people next week for an all-new episode. Until then, remember, find somebody who makes you feel safe and be that safe space for somebody, okay? Bye, guys.